Welcome to this grammar lesson. If you are looking at these slides on your own, watch in present mode. If watching the instructional video, grab something to write down your answers and be prepared to pause the video to note your responses to examples on the practice slides. This is Unit 6, Lesson 1, Phrases and Dependent Clauses. The topics we will cover here are appositives, prepositional phrases, and participial phrases. All of these topics can be found in No Red Ink. Our learning target is I can correctly identify, use, and punctuate phrases and dependent clauses. First, let's start with appositives. An appositive identifies or renames the noun or noun phrase right before or after it. Most often, appositives fall right after the nouns they refer to. Less often, they can fall right before the nouns they refer to. Appositives are not surrounded by commas when they are absolutely necessary or essential to understand a sentence. When appositives aren't essential to a sentence, they do take commas. Let's take a look at this example. My cat Hermione Granger is still a kitten. No commas are used here because knowing which of my two cats I'm talking about is essential to the sentence. Another example would be, a current triathlete, Mr. Monty runs every day. This is an example of an appositive coming first, and because a current triathlete is not essential to the sentence, it is set off with a comma. Let's practice. Underline the appositive and add commas where necessary. Her favorite book, The Great Gatsby, was read first semester. Her favorite book, comma, The Great Gatsby, comma, was read first semester. The commas are used because the book title is not essential to the sentence because favorite already identifies it. My student Gwen aced her grammar test. My student Gwen aced her grammar test. Gwen is the appositive. The commas are not used because Gwen is essential in the sentence to identify which student I am talking about. Let's practice some more. Underline the appositive and add commas where necessary. Nick's teacher, Miss Montgomery, nominated him for an award. Nick's teacher, Miss Montgomery, nominated him for an award. This sentence does not use commas. Katie's bike, a blue mountain bike, was stolen. The appositive here is a blue mountain bike. This is set off with commas. Next, let's take a look at prepositional phrases. A prepositional phrase is a phrase that starts with a preposition and ends with a noun or pronoun, which is the object. Prepositional phrases can be found at the beginning or in the middle of sentences. When you start a sentence with a prepositional phrase, you have to set it off with a comma. In order to be able to identify your prepositional phrases, you need to know your prepositions. Take a moment and look over this list of common prepositions. Let's look at some examples. Harry Potter and his owner cuddled on the couch. In this sentence, the preposition is on, and on the couch is the prepositional phrase. Another example is, after these lessons, you will complete the test. In this sentence, after is the preposition, and the prepositional phrase is after these lessons. This second example has the prepositional phrase at the beginning of the sentence, which means it has to be set off with a comma. Next example. Rachel hid her phone under the desk, but Monty could still see it. Under is the preposition in this sentence, and under her desk is the prepositional phrase. There is a comma in this sentence, but it has nothing to do with the prepositional phrase. This is a compound sentence, therefore it needs a comma. Let's practice. Underline the prepositional phrase and add commas where necessary. Wes went into the classroom. Into is the preposition. Into the classroom is the prepositional phrase. No comma is necessary. After the bell rang, Molly packed up her Chromebook. After after is the preposition. After the bell rang is the prepositional phrase. Since this prepositional phrase begins the sentence, it has to be set off with a comma. Let's practice some more. Underline the prepositional phrase and add commas where necessary. Between math and English, Jeremy has a lot of homework. Between math and English is the prepositional phrase, and it does need a comma. Alex got an A since he did so well on his test. Since he did so well on his test is our prepositional phrase, and it does not need a comma. Now let's take a look at participial phrases. Participial phrases are groups of words that describe or modify nouns and verbs. Participial phrases begin with a present or past participle. These are the forms of a verb used to describe other words. Participial phrases end when their description is complete. Examples of past participles might be broken, frustrated, lost, or impressed. This is in no way an exhaustive list. Examples of present participles would be singing, eating, reading, learning. Again, not an exhaustive list. Take note of the ing at the end of each word. Let's take a look at some examples. Monty walked up to Juan cheating on the test and got angry. Cheating is our present participle, and cheating on the test is our participial phrase. Yelling loudly, Juan disrupted the rest of the class. Yelling is our present participle, and yelling loudly is our participial phrase. Knowing he was caught, Juan finally confessed. Knowing is our present participle, and knowing he was caught is our participial phrase. Notice that these two examples begin the sentence, therefore they need a comma to set them off. And finally, Zach looked down at his desk, embarrassed for his classmate. Embarrassed is a past participle, and embarrassed for his classmate is the participial phrase. Let's practice. Underline the participial phrase and add commas where necessary. Students planning to study grammar should use NRI. Planning to study grammar is our participial phrase. Planning is our present participle. Removing his glasses, Dylan rested his eyes. Removing his glasses is our participial phrase. This does need a comma since it starts the sentence. Let's practice some more. Underline the prepositional phrase and add commas where necessary. Running through the halls, Nico got in trouble with Dean Ludwig. Running through the halls is our participial phrase, and it has a comma because it begins the sentence. Lauren's book, Lost Many Years Ago, was found in her brother's room. Lost many years ago is the participial phrase. My apologies for that pause. The bell was getting ready to ring. In this sentence, lost many years ago is set off with commas because that is not an essential part of the sentence. Additional practice is recommended for these topics. These are tricky concepts, especially when it comes to knowing whether or not to use commas. Use the resources in No Red Ink for an additional practice. You can do a search for key terms in their curriculum guide. You can look for positive, prepositional phrases, and participial phrases. If you are accessing this through our Canvas page, I will put direct links to these topics.